Hello, Paper and Glam family. Welcome to June's session of Book Club. Book Club is now in session. I am so excited to discuss our June read, which is Summer Days and Summer Nights. I've seen that a lot of you loved it, which is so great. This is totally one of those that's out of my wheelhouse, so I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. And I'm especially glad that you loved it because we are actually reading the first one of this series for December. This one was actually the first one. And the reviews say it's even better than the second one. So if you really like this book, I think you're gonna really like our December read. So anyway, we are talking about these 12 love stories tonight, but to get our icebreaker on and get us warmed up for the evening, our icebreaker is what was your favorite summer in your life? Like, was it like me? One of my favorites was the summer when I was 17. And what's like your favorite summer memory and why? It can be a summer romance story if you are inclined to share, or it can just be like why. Tell us why that particular summer is your favorite. So Hayden, will you start us off?
My favorite summer was the summer right before I went to Auburn for my freshman year of college. It was like you were finally an adult. We spent the summer at the lake, laying out, going to the beach, eating whatever you wanted to and not putting on any weight because you're young, hanging out with all your friends. And it just felt like a new chapter in your life that was going to be so much fun. And I actually met Roman, my husband, that summer, but we didn't meet back up until my sophomore year at Auburn. So I don't know. It ended up being a summer romance just many summers later.
Yeah, after Lisa Marie sent these questions out, I tried to come up with one summer that stood out in particular, and I could not do it. I was thinking back to my childhood, and then now as a parent with my own kids, and there are a lot of events from summers that stand out, but I don't know that I have just one. But I wish that I remember when I was really little and it would be summer vacation and it felt like it was forever, and wish that time did not go as fast as it did now. Yeah, I mean, this summer has been really good because it's been really slow appointments. But we've just been relaxing, and even though we haven't done anything big, it's been really nice.
I completely agree with everything Erica said, particularly with it being difficult to pick just one memorable summer. I think they're all great. The weather's great when the weather's not great, when the weather's sketchy at best, it's still a great summer. Exactly what she said. Back in the day when you were a kid, you were counting down the days because they seem so long, and then as time goes on, they really seem to shorten up, and the summers just zip on right by. I would have to say, if I had to pick one, it would probably be the summer I graduated high school, just because obviously that's a milestone, and I just remember being on vacation and then coming back and the weather being great that summer, and then the hype up for the beginning of college. It was just a great summer of kind of saying goodbye to old friends, meeting new friends. So I would say that would probably be the most memorable if I had to pick one.
I have a couple. Summer for me has always been about being by water. My mother used to, she was a childcare provider, and the people that she was taking care of the kids at a pool. And so I remember just growing up and spending so many hours in that pool, just so much fun, till we were prunes, just laughing and just having so much fun, and just, no care at all because you're just young and you're just hanging out. And I also have fond memories of going to the beach with my family, just being on the back of a truck, just that's before they had had laws against it, but we would just ride out and we would just have a blast, and you just everyone got along. All my cousins, we just all just had so much fun with each other. And I also enjoy family reunions. That's usually when my family would do their family reunions would be in the summertime, and just doing some line dances with the family, and you know, having them cook on the grill. And those are just like memories that are kind of tucked in there. And you know, it's sad because sometimes you don't want those things to go away, but then I'm like excited that I can try now with my kids. But summer and being by water and just hanging out with family and friends is my favorite memories.
I don't know that I have a specific summer. In general, summer is my favorite. I'm a June birthday, and so summer just kind of feels like my time of year. As a kid, that was family time. We would get my aunts and uncles and my cousins, and we would all go camping. We had some pretty epic camping trips with the family. And I also spent most of my summer with my grandma. And that was back in the day when, I don't even know, it probably wasn't even HGTV, but there were craft shows on TV. And my grandma and I would watch craft shows with, what was her name? Eileen. I still use Eileen Thick and Tacky Glue. Anyway, you know, we would watch craft shows and make things. And then when my boy cousins came and stayed, then we would build forts in their backyard. And I don't know, just childhood summers probably were the best. But in general, I still, I think it's the sentimentality of how great my summers as a child were that I love summer. I think it's magical.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to do it on my phone. My favorite summer is probably between my sophomore and junior year. I just got my car, lots of fun driving around and stuff. So, you know, going hiking up the falls, camping with my friends. Summer I met my husband, I met him like the last weekend before school started, and I don't know, we just did a lot of really, really fun stuff and kind of captured that whole summer vibe.
I love it. For me, I think, yeah, I would say the summer before senior year was my favorite. That was when I kind of came into my own for the first time. And, you know, I am kind of a late bloomer. So I went through a really long awkward stage. You guys know what I mean? And I was in an awkward stage probably from like 10 to 16. And so the summer before 17, like I just kind of blossomed, and I really realized for the first time that, you know, I could like make my dreams come true. It's really, really cheesy, but that was when I first started working at a scrapbook store, and I figured out that this was, you know, what I wanted to do with my life, which is a huge gift. Like paper and crafting was like my jam. So there was that. And then I also moved to Malibu that summer, and that had been my longtime dream since I got a Malibu Barbie when I was, you know, like 5. So yeah, there was that. There was like a lot of different things. I kind of felt like I had college in the bag. I remember I aced the SATs, and yeah, it was just one of those iconic summers that I feel like had every piece of when you associate summer, like it had it all, you know. It was like a summer montage, just with everything, which is like days at the beach and just, it's just great. Oh my goodness. And also summer 2015 was also excellent. That was another summer when I kind of finally came into my own and moved back to LA after a long season of wanting to do so. And it was when I first realized that, you know, I re-released the Glam Planner and it did really, really well. And I just finally realized, like, oh my gosh, I think this might be my full-time job. This might actually work after all. So anyway, after watching like all of my friends, I worked at 3 or 4 different scrapbook stores, 3, yeah. And just watching all of them go under, I was really defeated until that point about like how I was going to make a go of this and afford to sleep indoors in LA. So anyway, that was my summer memories and the ones that really stand out for me. So let's jump into the book. So of course, we're going to start off with, how did you enjoy or experience summer days and summer nights, and how many stars? So I'm really, you guys know me and young adult. For every young adult book I read, I'm looking for the Laura, like it's like my benchmark is the Laura Jean series by Jenny Han that you guys may remember. We read it for, was it May last year or April? April or May last year. We're reading it again next year in April. We're reading the third installment. So anyway, that's like my new benchmark for young adult. That was the first young adult book that I read that I really loved. And yeah, I struggled to get into this one, especially in the beginning. I don't know, 2.5 stars, is that terrible? I listened to it and read it, and yeah, I'm anxious to hear your guys' thoughts. Hayden, I think you loved it, so lift us up a little.
Lisa Marie, you're breaking my heart. I gave the book 5 stars because my little hopeless romantic heart will not allow me to read 12 love stories and say, I don't like this book. I mean, I know you're supposed to pick your favorite story, even though we're not talking about that right now, but I really can't even narrow it down to which one is my favorite because each one was so different. Like, in the first one, I never saw that coming. I thought he was some rich kid that lived in New York that, you know, was going to come and sweep her away and spend lots of money on her, and then come to find out he would have a girlfriend and they'd have to sort that out. But I was totally way off base. So obviously I really enjoyed the book, and I'm looking forward to the one at Christmas because my little romantic heart loves a good love story. So 5 stars from Hayden.
I think there like some that were heartwarming than others, and I'm not sure if that's because it's summer vacation and there's constantly somebody around and there's one or some can ask me something. I'm gonna give it 3 stars, maybe a little bit higher. I don't know. I can maybe go 3.5. It seemed to start out slow for me. I'm not sure why. Again, if that was just space. Which obviously to piggyback on what Lisa Marie was saying earlier, I have already read the Christmas one, and I did enjoy the Christmas one more than this one. If you're so about this one, depending on preference for storytelling, is this one even more.
I, in general, struggle with the YA genre. I think because I have a daughter around the same age as the protagonist, so I really have to think back to when I was that age to kind of relate to the feelings or whatnot. I mean, they're cute stories. I enjoyed it. I would say probably a 3.5 to a 4 star, only because, you know, I have limited relatability, I guess, being an old lady, I guess. But they were cute stories. I do have a couple of favorites. But like I say, for the YA genre, you know, I would like you typically like something a little bit older, but it was good. Good reads.
So for me, full disclosure, I didn't get to finish it for, you know, crazy summer and with my kids being home. But what I did read, I did enjoy. I do like young adult. I don't know, it just seems fun and kind of carefree. And I like the format. I like that they were, you know, short stories. Of course, I have to hold off on my rating until I completely finish it. But so far, I was really enjoying it. I like, you know, like you said, I'm like, hey, I like a good love story. And the first one was a surprise for me. I wasn't expecting it to go in that direction. And yeah, I was even surprised by some of the stories that maybe I thought that I wouldn't get into or relate to, but I still thought that they were cute. So I liked it. I think that I probably will, you know, give it at least 3.5, just because it's just, I don't know, I just love just how lighthearted it is. So it was a good read for me so far.
I loved it. I have to say I was super bitter. Like I don't know why. I don't know what I thought this book was gonna be, but for some reason I was like, oh, I'm not gonna even enjoy this. And I was trudging around the bookstore, like half-heartedly looking for it. They didn't really have it, so I was like, oh, whatever. I'll just order it on Amazon. Like, just kind of pity partying myself. And I loved this book. I don't know what I thought we were reading, but for some reason I just thought I was being a total Debbie Downer about it. And it's totally in my wheelhouse. So I kind of felt like a jerk that I was being such a baby. Like, I was whining to my husband about it. It's totally in my wheelhouse, and I loved it. So like 4.5 stars. I feel like I can't give it a 5, but I mean, it is kind of a 5 for me because just so it's like candy. I love it. Yeah, so I just totally loved it. Brings me back. It's cute. Some of the stories annoyed me. I didn't love them all, full disclosure, but I love the book in general, and I'm super happy we read it. And now I'm super looking forward to that. Was the other thing I was being whiny about. Was like, oh my, we have to read 2 of them, but now I'm pumped for December's book. So definitely changed my opinion, and I loved it.
I think, oh gosh, I just can't decide a 3.5 or a 4. Because of course there's stories where I was like meh about, but I think that I have some stories that were definitely 5-star stories. I went through and just kind of did each story individually. So yeah, I definitely think that there's something for everyone in here. And although for book club, I felt like I needed to read every story through. If you were to get it from the library and you just wanted to read the ones that, like, when you started reading felt like, oh, this story is going to resonate with me, then I think that'd be great. I also think that because love stories aren't typically my favorite thing in the whole wide world, I like that they're shorter because I don't like to get into like all the drama of like back and forth and like all the angst. I'm not always into all of that because I don't think that's always how life is. Sometimes I think that you do just like meet a person and things do kind of like flow and work out. I know that's not true for everyone, but it's also not true for everyone that it's like so much turmoil that most YA has. And I liked that. I think it was the Tim Federle one, maybe the one where it was at the beach cabana, where it was like purposefully overly cheesy, overly rushed. Like 2 days we fall in love, we're together, like very like Shakespearean that way. Like, you know, like we don't call into question in Shakespeare that everyone falls in love in 5 seconds. And I think that sometimes it's okay to be a little campy and do that.
There we go. I couldn't unmute myself. You're talking about Love at the Last Resort, Jana?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, that's so interesting you say that. This is one of the reasons I love that you are with us, because you always mention something that went completely over my head, because I loved the setup of that story so much, and I was so excited to, you know, have that unravel. And then I felt like like you said, the execution was like super rushed, and I was like, wait, like the setup was really long, and then like the execution was like, okay, and then they fell in love and that's it. And I didn't understand, but now you just enlightened me, and apparently that was intentional. Which,
yeah, because if you think about it, even his language and the way he has him talk is very like fluffy and stuff. So I was like, oh, he's kind of like purposely doing like a Shakespeare, like over the top, like plot here.
Yeah, there was a line, and I could have sworn and I'm looking at the wrong story, so that would help. But there was like in the very beginning, like he just had some really poignant lines that I just, oh my gosh, I loved it. And I don't want to like, yeah, here it is on the first page right here. He says, she moved through the grounds of the Hotel del Arte Spa and Resort with the confidence that came from experience and routine. And I just, that was just such beautiful imagery, because we all get confident when we're in a place that we're like, I run things here. So anyway, very interesting. Okay, so moving on to the next question. So, you guys, I really want to learn to love all these different genres, and I'm really glad you guys loved it, because when I was reading it, you know, I obviously picked these books, and with your help, of course, and I'm always worried that it's like I'm going to pick a dud, and with this one, it'd be really bad if I picked a dud, right? Because as Sarah pointed out, we have 2 of them on the schedule. So anyway, I'm so glad that you guys loved it, and I'm sure I will too by the end of the the session, but I just really loved that it got us in the summer mood, and it was all seasonal stories because, you know, I'm a seasonal junkie. So what was your favorite story in Summer Days and Summer Nights? So mine was definitely 1,000 Ways This Could All Go Wrong. I also loved the illustrations. I just thought those were so cute. So I loved the story. I think it was such a unexpected twist that, oh my gosh, and now I'm blanking on the guy's name, Griffin, that Griffin was autistic. I completely didn't see that coming. I thought it was just, yeah, I thought it was really, really cool. I don't think I've ever read a love story quite like this. I thought it was just really unique, very diverse, and just really, really well done and very heartwarming and cute. So loved it. Hayden, what was your favorite story?
Okay, I have to cheat because overall I had 2. So going to my favorite genre, horror, one of my favorites was Last Stand at the Synagogue. Totally got me. I know it's cheesy and I know it's so stupid, but I was like, yes, if I was in an old Texas town at a movie theater, I totally wish something like that would happen to me. And then my next one was Inertia, because I loved the Divergent series up until the ending of the last book, which I won't spoil in case anybody read that. And it totally turned me against everything she does because it really irked me. I had to think of a nice way to say that. But I liked that story because it was a good mixture of like what goes on in Divergent as well as a coming of age love story.
Okay, I don't know if Erica's back, so I'll go. I have a top 3 as well, just because I'm like Hayden, and I'm basically non-committal. So my top 3 would be, I liked In 90 Minutes Turn North, I liked Good Luck and Farewell, and I liked 1,000 Ways This Could All Go Wrong. I would say if I had to pick a favorite, it would be In 90 Minutes Turn North. Opposite to what Hayden was saying, I liked it. I liked that one the best because it seemed the most realistic. It seemed, you know, that it could possibly happen that way. It could possibly be a true story. So that one was probably my favorite. Erica?
I hope I don't. My favorite is The Faces Go Round twice now already. I just felt like it was crafted. I tend realistic fiction anyway, so this one was already basically. I knew when I picked it up that this would probably be one of my favorites because I think Jennifer E. Smith has written anything that I have read that I haven't enjoyed. I just like the way everything was revealed. I thought was really good. I expected it to. Really enjoyed that, and I will say, Cindy, if you didn't know this already, the story of names at the moment blends in 90 Minutes Turn North, and the girl. The story of when they is Christmas one. So get to read them.
Wait, hold on a second. I really want to hear what you're cutting out, Erica, but I really want to hear what you said. What about the characters from 90 Minutes Turn North?
They are in the Christmas.
Oh.
Met.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Well, considering that I only got 4 stories in, I would say like the first 2. I did enjoy the second one, which is The End of Love, only because I like the whole idea of, okay, the main character, her parents are going through a divorce, and you know, this is traumatic and horrible for her, and at the same time that something traumatic and horrible is happening to her, that there's a turn where she's now comforted and she's now finding love. I don't know, I thought that was cute, but I'm looking forward to getting the rest in because I'm dedicated to this because I think it's so cute. And I like that I don't know, when I was reading this book, because I actually checked it out at my library and I was listening to it in Audible, and I wanted to, for some reason, this idea was in my head. I was like, oh, this would be, because it's 12 love stories and it's summer, I was kind of like thinking, oh, wouldn't it be so cool if it was like every season, you know, like a love story for each season. And so I'm really excited to finish this one. So sad that I'm not able to talk in full about it, but yeah, that I would say that would be the second one so far, but I'm looking forward to the rest.
I don't know if I can pick a favorite. Jana, you totally changed my perspective of now what is it called? Was it, I can't remember, when we just talked about, oh my gosh, I'm flipping. Anyway, the one at the resort, totally blanking, can't find it quickly. Oh, Love is the Last Resort, found it. I did not like that story at all because it was so like campy and obvious and cheesy and rushed. But now your description of it makes me think about it a little bit, and I kind of changed my opinion. So I appreciate that. I don't know. Yeah, I really loved Inertia. I really liked the 90 Minutes Turn North. I'm excited that it's in the other one. I'm curious, well, maybe don't spoil it, but I'm wondering if it's, you know, the story about before they sort of broke up, so that'll be interesting, but kind of a downer. And I really liked the first story. I mean, I think because I was just so happy that it was something that I liked, and I thought it was a cute twist at the end. I liked, and in general, I agree with Jana. I liked that the stories weren't so tortured and long, and that roller coaster that you can tend to go on with YA love stories, where, you know, like 1 minute everything's like going really great, and then it has to crash and burn and be horrible, and then there's all this like emotion and heartache, and if, you know, like I'm shouty, so then I'm like yelling at the book, and I'm like, if you just talk to each other, this would go away, like grow up. But so I like that it was just short and sweet to the point, because I mean, I agree. I think that can be not maybe everybody's reality, but that can be a reality, and it's just so much less angsty and enjoyable. So I liked it. Can't pick a favorite.
Okay. I don't know if my connection's good or not, but my favorite one was Sick Pleasure. And I think it's in part because I'm from Southern California, and my husband's played at many of those clubs that they talk about. And I really liked all of it except for the end, because I felt very disappointed in the lead female character, because I just didn't like that she like just threw it all away on some guy at I don't know. Anyways, I didn't like the end. I don't know, but the rest of it just reminded me a lot of like me and my friends, and we were like, you know, I was like a punk rock kid, and I hung out at clubs like that, and we did stuff like that, and that's kind of like the group I was in. And so I related to that one a lot, and to me that made it feel very realistic, because it was very much like how my high school life was. So I liked that one, but I really liked several others. I liked Inertia. I liked the first one, Head, Tails, Scales, whatever it is. I liked the Synagore one. I like all of that kind of other stuff. I didn't like The Last Resort at first, until like at the end I was like, you know what, it's kind of really, when I started noticing the language was so flowery and stuff, and I realized he was doing it so purposefully, that kind of changed my mind. Sarah too, I was like, okay, it's on purpose, so I can let it slide, was kind of what I was thinking. So yeah, that's it.
Sorry guys, I'm having a heck of a time unmuting myself. So I loved the Synagore story, Hayden too, and I know you guys liked it. That was the one that like kept my pages turning, but I was reading it at night, and so I really don't do well with horror. I don't do any sort of horror thing. Like as close as I get to horror is like Glammy Witches for Glamouline. So I was like legitimately scared when I was going to bed. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I should be reading this before I go to bed. Oh, it was scary, like with the curse, and I don't know. I'm a baby when it comes to horror, so Tabitha and I have that in common. Anyway, all right, so favorite quote. There's so many good ones, but the one I have to pick, I think, is in Inertia, where Veronica Roth says, the second she said I could go, I did, leaving my useless sweatshirt behind like Cinderella with her glass slipper. And maybe I thought she hadn't left it so the prince would find her, but because she was in such a hurry to escape the pain of never getting what she wanted, that she didn't care what she lost in the process. And I thought that was such probably a spot on observation of Cinderella. It's just like that just rang of truth so deeply for me. I loved it. So I'm gonna do one more because I cannot resist. And this is in the Map of Tiny Perfect Things, and I really like the story. It was definitely tied with the story I chose, 1,000 Ways This Could All Go Wrong. And this just had so many nice touches, but I love this quote. You know, there's a certain kind of person, or it's like a scene when Margaret and, I can't remember his name, Margaret and Mark meet, where he says, you know how there's a certain kind of person and it's different for everyone, but suddenly when you see them, your eye just snags on them. You get caught and you can't look away, and you're 10 times more awake than you were a moment ago. And it's like you're a harp string and somebody just plucked you. Oh, such beautiful imagery and just like so relatable. And I loved it. Like it's lines like that. One of the reasons I love quotes is it's lines like that that like remind me why I love to read, and I'm such a reader. So I just absolutely love that. And I have more to add, but I will go at the end, so I don't talk your ear off. Go again at the end. Take another turn. Hayden, how about you?
Okay, so mine was on page 147 in 90 Minutes Turn North, and it's just one line. She smiled. You've always been my favorite character. And that right there struck me as the most amazing thing you could ever say to somebody that you love, because that lets them know that no matter what in life, you're with them. And that's how I feel about my husband, obviously, and about my best friends, because you know, life isn't just about love with your perfect soulmate that's either, you know, your life partner. It's all the friendships that you cultivate. And that's kind of how I feel about all the girlfriends that I have, and Roman and all of you. So I don't know. It just made me feel all fuzzy, and I was like, that's my favorite line.
Okay, my inner is her art piece, and teacher talking says, think about what you just said. She shows her brain, incredibly rare in life and in art. Art is about things both vulnerable and I think
Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. I think we lost Erica, so I'll go ahead. Lisa Marie, I caught the Cinderella reference too, and I thought that was awesome as well. As my favorite line, I actually picked on page 22 under head, scales, and tongue and tail story. I love the line, the reference to the apple lip balm, where Eli snatched it from her palm and hurled it into the darkness and into the lake. Hey, Gracie protested. Why did you do that? He took a deep breath, his shoulders lifted and fell, because I've spent the last 9 months thinking of apples. So I thought that was awesome. Like I just loved it. I thought it was a great line.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one too. But I also have a quote that I liked from Sick Pleasure, page 113. And it says, love can be so strange and sad. It can be hard to understand why we run towards certain people and away from others at different times in our lives, why we search so hard for that thing we are looking for and then run so fast when we find it. Like that can definitely sum up love and some love situations. And with this story, I was just kind of like, I don't understand. I don't understand why. Why did you not be with the guy that you like so much? It doesn't make sense. But that's how things can be sometimes with people as they're discovering themselves and discovering who they are. So that, I don't know. I just like that quote. Just, I think it matches so many situations that we can think about if we think about young love.
So I don't know. I'm a bad reader. I don't know that I have a favorite quote. Nothing necessarily stuck out to me, other than maybe like a concept. I really liked the friend group in the end of Love that they went camping, you know, instead of going to school dances and stuff, and just how tight, like the miniature family they had created. And I like that imagery, you know, of like people just being able to like work in harmony and that they know each other so well that you know, things just happen like naturally, I guess. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but I liked that. And then it just kind of, it made me remember the one time I went camping in high school with a group of friends, you know, no adults in the, I mean, it was a disastrous camping trip because I went with 4 boys that didn't know what they were doing, but you know, in the middle of nowhere. But just how fun that was, and thinking like, man, that would have been such a cool thing to have done in high school. And I loved their escape and, you know, the trust that their parents had for them. And I don't know, so I just liked it. But that's my scene, if you will, in absence of a favorite quote.
Yeah, like Sarah, I didn't necessarily have like a specific like 1 or 2 lines. I'm sure like while I was reading, there were a lot. I was like, oh yeah, I should write that down. But I was reading and I didn't have like a pen with me or a sticky washi tape or anything. But I really liked in, oh no, I just have the title. Is it Goodbye and Farewell? I think is the name of it. And I like when she's talking about the secret club, because it's just kind of, it's true. Like I was in that secret club, and I used to kind of take advantage and be like, I would like to shock people in high school, I think, a little bit, because I'd be like, oh yeah, my dad's dead, and then but I would call my stepdad my dad too, and it would kind of like confuse people. But I kind of like, it was like a coping mechanism to kind of get over it, or to like avoid people asking me questions, I think, about my dad dying. And so I kind of liked the whole connection they had with the secret club of like having a loved one deceased at such a young age, and kind of like navigating that stuff.
Erica, I love the quote that you shared about art, and I almost shared that one too. It's so funny because your connection's always fine, like in the beginning, and then like as soon as we go live and you know you start to talk, it totally cuts out on us, which is so weird because we were talking just fine just before the live chat. Do you want to try it again one more time, or you want to take a pass?
I will try, just in case it cuts out again. But yeah, all I was gonna say is that all things with Full May struck me, because I thought a life well lived is also grave. Just to think about it.
Well said. All right, so I think that I love the map of tiny perfect things, and I just thought it was very, very Paper and Glam. You know, it's kind of what I try to do with the seasonal living lists, and hopefully you guys are able to try to do, is like just finding those moments, those like tiny perfect moments every month that, you know, we can look forward to and that we can kind of reprise and reiterate year after year. And I just love this quote, and I love that they were going around looking for these tiny perfect things. And it actually really reminded me of the book that we're reading for November, which is Tiny Beautiful Things. And I just made me really excited for that book. And the title was almost exactly the same, which I thought was funny. But Here's the quote. It's on page 364, and it says, "It's tough getting through daily life, finding stuff that doesn't suck to take pleasure in. And that's in normal life, where every 24 hours you get a whole fresh new day to work with. We were in a tougher situation because we had to make do with the same day every single day. And that day was getting worn pretty thin. So we got serious about it. Our goal was to find every single moment of beauty, every tiny perfect thing that this particular August 4th had to offer. There had to be more. Moments when, for just a few seconds, the dull whole of reality was compressed by random chance into a glittering diamond of awesomeness. If we were going to stay sane, we were going to have to find them all. We were going to have to mine August 4th for every bit of perfection it had." And I just love that. It's like, that's exactly what, you know, our seasonal living lists are all about. And, you know, it's about mining each month for just every bit of, you know, everything that has to offer, you know, every little glittering miracle. So I just thought that was such a well done story and beautifully brought to life. And the last question, so kind of like a serious question, is so the short story genre, as you guys may know, was very, very, very popular, and there was a lot of authors making extremely good money on, you know, short story writers specifically, and, you know, they were paid by the word back then, and, you know, short stories were, you know, published in magazines, and they were very widely read. And of course, that's not the case anymore. And the publisher, or not the publisher, the editor of this book, Stephanie Perkins, you know, is passionate about short stories. And yeah, I was just wondering if you guys have any thoughts on why short stories are not, you know, mainstream these days, and if you wish that they would be, or just kind of what are your thoughts on that? Hayden, do you have any, or you want to pass?
Everyone sit down, because Hayden's getting on her soapbox. Just joking. But in all seriousness, I think that the short story, I really enjoy short stories because it's a nice way to get in a really good story without it being 800 pages long. Like, I almost died when we read Blonde. Even though I really loved it, it was really hard to get through that book. And some of the other ones we've read. But I think it's died off because people want more and more. If you don't give them 800 pages of filler or whatever you feel like they want, they don't want to read it because they don't deem a short story good enough, because that's too minimalist for this type of lifestyle. That's just what I think. I'm dying to hear what Jana thinks, though, since she's the English professor.
Erica, you're up.
Uh-oh. Erica's such a great reader. Oh, there she goes. Okay. I was like, I hope she... Yeah. Oh, she's muted again. Can you unmute, Erica, or no?
Some weird things.
Okay, yeah. Something's going on with your... Yeah, it keeps muting and unmuting you. All right, we'll skip you for now. Cindy, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll echo exactly what Hayden said. I do think that people want more. They want, obviously, value for their dollar if they're going to buy a book. And I also think people get really invested in the characters. And I think that, you know, it's a little bite-sized portion of a book. And I think people will get invested in the characters and they want more and more. I mean, look at soap operas like The Young and the Restless, that's been on for like 1,000 years. You know, I think people get invested in the characters and they want to see the people get married, remarried to the same people over and over again. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. So I personally think that the short story genre is coming back. The reason why I say that is when I started reading this, I started thinking about recently the Gilmore Girls, the last kind of episodes. They did it in the 4 seasons, so that speaks also to what Tabitha was saying about having a seasonal story. I totally went there and thought, well, that's what it kind of reminds me of. It kind of reminds me of sectioning off different story, the same storyline, different ideas, but in bite-sized pieces. So I think there's definitely still a great opportunity for this type of genre, and I think you know, with the new generations being what they are, I think that they'd really appreciate not having to invest the time in an 800-page book, you know, kind of thing. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I would love for it to come back strong because I love the concept of just like you just get like a nice little story, and I think that's why I'm a fan of fan fiction because I can just go in and I can just read a quick little story and smile and go on about my way. But I also, just as a guess, what I'm guessing is that maybe something like this is maybe it's not as easy to publish. I'm thinking maybe it's is it possible that it's a money thing? Like when all of these people come together and it's a hit and you got to share your money. I mean, my guess is money, but I don't know. I don't have any facts to back me up, but usually things seem to be money. So I'm thinking maybe that, and maybe like if someone wants to be a writer, they don't want, they're not thinking about, okay, that I'm really going to get recognized for a short story, that it's not going to stick into someone's mind like something like invested, like like how Harry Potter and everything like that, like people are invested and they love the characters and it grows and it becomes huge. Maybe writers don't feel like a short story is going to give them anything like that because it's so small. That's my guess.
Yeah, and I was sorry, I'm like all over the board. Sorry for interrupting, Sarah, but you actually mentioned exactly what I was thinking, which is Harry Potter. And I was like trying to wait till the end, but it was like such a perfect segue. So that's actually what I was thinking about. I was thinking about Harry Potter, which is kind of the benchmark, if you will, for like the greatest publishing career of all time is J.K. Rowling. And, I was thinking about how those books, they were literary events, right? And not only that, like they were packaged in a certain way so that the books looked really sizable. And you guys probably know, the Harry Potter books that are published for Americans look completely different than the Harry Potter books that are published for like Europeans and, international versions. And they're like for Americans specifically, like they're like bigger and more like stylized. And I just thought that was really interesting because, I actually approached this question from the other angle, which is I was thinking like, why aren't short stories more popular when we live in such an instant culture, right? Like what's that horrifying statistic that's like, it's like 90% of people haven't read a book in the last like 20 years. I mean, that sounds horrible, but it's like a really crazy statistic, where like largely like people aren't reading anymore, I guess, which is like so sad. And one of the reasons I'm so committed to this book club, but it's like, the people who are reading want to kind of tackle these really big books, yet we live in such an instant society. And then I was thinking, maybe it's kind of like the blogosphere and, there's so many amazing writers who, blog now, and you get that kind of short story format in a blog. And I thought that was one way, but of course, short story died out long before blogs came into effect. And there's so many writers, like I think it was The Diamond as Big as the Rich, which is a short story by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which totally catapulted his career, and like people just wanted more and more and more. Because it is kind of like a semi-unfinished story, and you want the rest. Sorry, this is becoming a really large rant, so thanks for being with me. But if you guys are Book of the Month subscribers, in January you got a short story like kind of on the house from is it Gillian Flynn, who wrote Gone Girl, and it was called The Grown Up, and I read it in like 20 minutes, and I was like, wait, I need like the rest of this book, and I need it for like October next year. But I was just thinking about that. In the past, kind of the short stories created an appetite for that particular author, which doesn't happen really anymore, which is interesting. I just thought it was interesting when Gillian Flynn published that book it was interesting that she published a short story when she's such a prolific author at this time and so widely read. So anyway, thanks for listening to my rant. Sarah, sorry, go. The floor is yours.
No worries. I feel totally unqualified to be preceding Jana on this topic, but I think it's kind of, my thinking is, and I also agree, like it is weird because we are such an instantaneous, like bite-sized, we want to get things in the shortest form, the fastest way. But I also think, my theory would be kind of the death of print media, because we're not, right, and I don't really know this, but my understanding is that short stories were published, either in like the newspaper in serial format or like in a magazine, but people are reading, like trash tabloid magazines more than they are like, the New York Times or the New Yorker. and stuff, places that would publish a short story. I'm sure they still have huge subscription volume. It's not like they are dying necessarily. It's not the New York Times. What is that? Maybe that's the New York Times. I'm just being redundant. Anyway, I think it's that. I think it's kind of, and then people again are wanting bang for their buck. Like, people aren't going to pick up, and I think it's also just that people aren't going to pick up a 20-page book and, you know, spend $5-6 on something that like is just a bite-sized nugget. But if it came in the newspaper or in a magazine like it used to, that was why it was more consumable. And then yeah, it built that appetite for people. And then like now, I mean, like this, so I mean, people don't read. This is a hefty book to pick up, full of short stories, but it still feels like a big commitment for our instantaneous culture. So I think it's probably just that print value, print media going away kind of thing. But I'm excited to hear what you have to say, Jana, because I feel like you're going to actually have the answer to this, or at least an educated answer to this.
I think you all have touched on, I think, most of the main reasons. Definitely the print issue, because like Truman Capote, almost all of his stories were published first in serial magazines. Edgar Allan Poe, serial magazines. Pretty much most of those authors, they were published in magazines first. That's what Fitzgerald would do. Magazine. Everything was in the magazine. And then if they were popular in the magazine, then a publisher would say, like, okay, we're going to make a bind up of all of your short stories. We're going to make a collection of your short stories. And then that's how they would get their contract, is if people were picking up the magazine to get their short stories. So I think that's part of it. I think what Hayden said about really wanting in-depth stories and people want more. I think that's true, because if you look at the American soap opera, like Cindy was saying, you know, versus like a telenovela on the Spanish channel, where they're short and they end and they have endings. And I like that. And I like that British stories have endings, or like Sherlock has like 3 episodes for the season. I like that. But that's just kind of not the American way of telling stories. We're like more, bigger, 14 seasons long. Cheers went on forever. The Simpsons has been on forever. You know, Grey's Anatomy, like, please shoot me. I like the characters. I love it. But like, I don't do, like, for me, I just, like, life is interesting. And yes, you go from trauma to trauma, but like, seriously, like, that is just not, like, it gets like way beyond reality. And I think that people thrive off of that drama, and they want that drama because like people live boring lives. But historical people like Edgar Allan Poe, his philosophy was that a good story could be read in one sitting. And because they didn't have television stuff, that would mean like probably like 3 hours, you know, like a 40-page, 50-page story was, he thought, a complete good story you could sit down and read in one sitting and take it all in, that there was a unity of the plot line that way. And since he was one of the first literary critics, you know, he kind of, I think, set the tone in literary magazines for that to be the case. And it's also why a lot of his other colleagues, like, or contemporaries rather, you know, were not necessarily like keen on him, because, you know, Emerson and Thoreau would go on like long diatribes of stuff forever and ever of, you know, philosophy. Or there were, you know, other contemporary writers at that time were writing really, really, really big books. And they thought like, well, people could read a little bit at a time. But Poe kind of thought that the thread of the story is lost that way. But like Hayden said, now people want all of those little minute details, and people will say like, there's not enough world building, there's not enough this. And I'm like, really? You can't fill in that stuff with your own mind? Like, create the world and figure it out. Like, and I think they're used to, with short stories, you need a lot of that. Like, your mind has to give it, and we're used to having everything given to us, that if it's not all given to us, even in a book, people have trouble filling in those gaps or making those predictions. Because like these short stories, I think most of them, with the exception of the one I liked, or not liked, I liked them all, or most of them. But with the exception of Sick Pleasure, I pretty much saw the ending coming with all of them. And so I think that people, their predictive skills, they need a lot more fed to them because they're not practiced readers. So I think that's part of why they need so much detail given to them now.
That's so interesting, Jana. I never, like, you always blow my mind, and that is really interesting. They're not practiced readers. Because, yeah, I loved The Grown Up. Like, it was so haunting, and, like, as much as I would have, I'd totally buy it if she turned it into, like, a full book. Like the whole point was that it left you, you know, wondering, and it kind of made it so, like, beautifully haunting, and, like, all the more scary, which was cool, because it was kind of a horror book, borderline, I would say. So anyway, very, very good thoughts. Thank you guys for tackling that kind of literati question. Try to make, you know, at least have one kind of serious, you know, state of the reading world question on our book list. So our last question is, if you loved Summer Days and Summer Nights, you will also enjoy fill in the blank. And so I have already filled in the book chapters recommendations, so you don't have to, like, be Googling and writing these down. They're all in the description bar for you. I'm trying to, you know, be more prepared. So my recommendations are, of course, you know, our December read, like I mentioned in the beginning. I read through a ton of reviews and before I picked these books, and, like, literally every review said the Christmas one, which was the first one, was just incredible. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then what I would recommend is, if you kind of want really want to delve into, like, a more classic short story, this book was just published, I Die For You by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It's a lot of his short stories that were not previously published, so I'm really excited to read this, and I just love him. You guys know, if you're with me last September, I love Gatsby, and he's, like, my all-time favorite author that, you know, is like a legend, a literary legend at this point. Like, still living would be Shauna Nyquist, but as far as, like, the literary gods, definitely F. Scott Fitzgerald. And yeah, his short stories, like Flappers and Philosophers, so good and just so well done. And you really see, like, how he made a name for himself with his short stories. Hayden, I know you want a pass, and you just asked me if we're going to read Edgar Allan Poe 1 October. Yes, we are. That's, like, on my list of, like, seasonal books we got to get to. Hayden took a pass. Cindy took a pass. And Erica was having a hell of a time technology-wise. So I guess Sarah, or no, Tabitha, you are up.
So, sorry, my recommendation was Beautiful Disaster by Jamie. I can't think of it. Jamie McGuire, mix something. I'm sorry. I'm spazzing right now. The thought of what's the name of the book. But I think I recommended this before, and I think it's just because I honestly didn't have a whole lot of suggestions, but it's a love story. So I thought that, hey, yeah, it can work. It's been a while since I read it, but it's just, you know, it's young adult, or is it contemporary? Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head, but they're in college, so, you know, young adult. And I don't know, it's a really cute love story. I think people will enjoy it.
So the suggestion I emailed you was Three Dark Crowns, because it kind of, I was wandering around looking at my bookshelf trying to remember something, and that popped into my head because there is a bit of some love stories. It's like 3 storylines, young adult. But then, and this is so dumb of me, I didn't even remember Cassandra Clare, because when I was flipping through looking for another story, I noticed the author, and I was like, oh yeah, I've read some of her books. She does the Mortal Instruments series, but that gets a little angsty, and there's a weird, like, incesty part, but it's not, anyway, it gets weird in some parts, and she extended the series after I thought I had read the whole trilogy. Now it's like 5 books. But anyway, those were cute. I think I read them several years ago, and that's one of the authors that was in the book. And they were fun, young adult, like, quick reads, and there's, you know, like, a fun but super angsty love story in those. So sorry to ruin your life, Lisa Marie, and add another one, but there's also that. But Three Dark Crowns was cute. or interesting. It was different. And I thought that it was all, I didn't realize it was a trilogy, but it's also a trilogy. I thought it was going to get wrapped up in the first book. And then it ends, you know, on the typical series cliffhanger. And I was like, wait, what just happened? But it was good. I liked it. And I'm rambling. So on to you, Dana.
Now I get to ramble. No, my suggestion was Vasa in the Night, which is a really strange book based on a Russian myth, sort of, except for it's set in New York. And if you know anything about like Russian folklore, it's super weird, but it's modern. And so the first story by Lee Bardugo, the tail scales, whatever, head, whatever order those words are in, kind of reminded me of it because of the old lady, kind of witchy kind of lady in that, and some elements of like the mystical and fantastical in that reminded me of Vasa in the Night. And I really liked Vasa in the Night. I thought it was a very interesting, different read. And if you like kind of weird stuff like that, like I do, then it would be great. And I'm going to go because I have to go see Shakespeare in Love in about a half hour. And so, bye.
Okay, I will have to get the details on that because that sounds fabulous. I hope it's like a live Shakespeare in Love or something. Anyway, all right. So before we close, Jody just said something that was so just insightful, and I never thought about it before. But she said at one time, reading was considered a privilege and a measure of success. Reading was seen as a way to better ourselves. Today, stuff and things are how success is measured. And that is so true. And, you know, something like kind of the original stickers I ever created said like redefine success because, you know, and now I feel like that's a little bit of a common phrase. But when I mean, that was just something that I constantly told myself is that like, I mean, I even realized this, you know, as a teenager in high school, I could already tell like my definition of success did not match up with everyone else's. And like, you know, being a little better every day is just like so important to me and such like a core tenet of, you know, what Paper and Glam is all about. But I never really thought about, you know, that at the end of the day is like, I've always kind of felt like I was kind of on a different page with my peers, and I still felt that way. And I'm so glad I have you guys as my soul sisters. But before this amazing community, I always felt like I was just on a different page than like the world and the culture. And part of that is just also, you know, it's like Jesus said, you live in the world, but you're not of the world. But I think it really is just, it comes down to how you define success for yourself. You know, like there was a time, like Jody said, when collecting books and like the more like books were a status symbol because, you know, and education was a status symbol. And now because, you know, of the culture we live in, like it's, and, you know, reality TV and all the, you know, all this instant access to social media, like materialism is very much like the status symbol and beauty. And, you know, maybe it's very pronounced for me living in LA, but like it's just, it's very obvious to see that changing and like morphing the measure of success is just very different. And yes, this community, like Sarah said, it's like, oh, I just want to be a public service. There's a better way to define success, and hopefully that's just getting a little better every day. So anyway, contributing to this great world, this great community every day, hopefully. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining another session of book club. I really, really appreciate you guys joining every month and making time to spend a couple hours, actually it's 1 hour, a little over, together. It really does mean the world to me, and I hope that it's a public service for all of us, because it definitely is for me. So next month we are reading my all-time favorite author, Shauna Nyquist, again, and I'm so excited because those of you who have been with me a long time will remember that we read Bread and Wine in November of 2015, and I was so excited to talk about Shauna with you guys, and like YouTube had a glitch and it would not let me start the live stream, and I was so disappointed because we never got to talk Shauna. And so like we're gonna try again, and God help us if I can't start the live stream again, because I'm so excited to read this with you guys. I've already heard from a few women in our community who have said that like it's life-changing, and Shauna's work has definitely been life-changing for me. It very much inspired a lot of the heart behind Paper and Glam, and really shifted my outlook and really it's just enhanced my life in ways that I can't even articulate. Anyway, so I would say if there was one book for you to join us for this year, this would be it. This is like, if there was like one book I could like force on everyone I know, it would be really anything by Shauna. So with that said, definitely start Perfect over Present, Present over Perfect ASAP. I would recommend, because her books, though they're very short and they're very easy to read, it's very hard to cram them because like it's just very deep and you'll like want to let her words simmer and kind of marinate. So it's definitely not a book you'll want to read quickly. So I would definitely recommend you kind of just like read, you know, maybe 10 pages a day, like with your morning coffee or something, and really soak it up. So with that, I will see you guys the last Thursday of July, and I hope you just are in the midst of some very, very wonderful and beautiful summer days and summer nights. Good night.